Hi, sorry. Hi, this is Stacia, and we're going to take a look at a training game played on Lichess.org as part of my Rise to 2000 on Lichess. And the Phoenix is the marker, flying up to the baby birds, which should be 2000. So, as you can see, we've come a long way. I think I started at about 1760, and it wasn't so long ago, really. So this has been a fairly smooth flight up the mountain. And now we're sitting at 1990. So let's have a look at this game and see if we can finally get to the top and feed those very hungry baby birds. So, okay. Sorry about my voice, by the way. I've basically had an allergy attack, but I feel great, so don't worry about that. Okay, so let's look at the game. I played 1e4. I had white against Magusness, rated 1912, and Magusness played e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4. This is the Italian game. And he played bishop to c5. All right, so a normal move here would be something like c3 or possibly even d3, or even castles. But I like this move, b4, which I did play. This is called Evans' Gambit because I love to sacrifice a pawn as long as I get good compensation. And in terms of gambits, Evans' Gambit is pretty sound. You won't see it at the highest levels, but Evans' Gambit was played by players like Paul Morphy, Bobby Fischer, and, well, yeah, it's a good opening. There's also Adolf Anderson. All right, so my opponent did take the pawn. It's a free pawn after all. And now the point of the gambit, I played c3 with tempo on the bishop. Now he has to move his bishop again. That's a third time. And now I get d4. So now you see the point of the gambit. I have better development. Black has moved their bishop 3 times in the opening. I also have bishop a3 available and an open b file. Perhaps that will be useful as well at some point. My opponent played d6. So here, I kind of forgot my repertoire. I haven't seen d6 in a long time, like months. Everyone's been playing pawn takes pawn, like everyone. So I actually forgot my main move, which is queen b3. So d6, queen b3. I think that's a very good move, actually. It puts pressure on f7 right away. And there's some tricks involved with that, but I won't go into that. Instead of that, I played the move castles. Now, it's not exactly like a mistake or anything like that, but it's different. And I had an idea with this move. My idea is I wanted to go d5, have the knight move somewhere, anywhere, and then play queen a4 check. And that would attack the king and the bishop. And I thought maybe I could win that bishop. But if I play it right now, the knight could actually jump to d4. And it turns out that's actually fine. Like if we just look at this. Now, I can't take because of the pin. That's why I didn't like this. And the knight is threatening maybe a fork. But I could take it. And after takes, I could still play queen a4 check. Let's see. c6. Takes. I actually think I could play this way. Yeah, this is actually quite good. So it was actually, given my idea, castles was inaccurate. But it turns out they don't have to play this way. They could also play a better move, such as knight to b8 or knight c to e7. And I'll show in a second why those moves are better than knight d4. But I did castle in the game. And after knight to f6, now I thought, okay, I'm going to do my plan. And unfortunately for me, my plan doesn't work. So I actually think this is a pretty serious mistake, and I'm not too happy about this move. But let's learn from it. After d5, I'll show you my calculation. I thought d5, I thought the knight would go here, knight c to e7. I'll go queen a4 check. Oops. I'll go queen a4 check, they'll go bishop d7, and I'll win that bishop. But I completely forgot. They can play c6 here. They can play c6. And after pawn takes c6, here, let's do the whole line. There's knight takes c6. So after d5 here, let's say queen a4 check now. c6. Yeah, now this would be a big blunder because then I do win the bishop. But c6 is a very useful move because now that bishop's protected and c6 is still defended by the knight and the b-pawn, it's sufficiently defended. So yeah, and if we take here, they can just recapture with the knight. No harm, no foul. And actually, I think black's now better because I'm wasting my time making moves that are not improving my position. In fact, I'm not sure what my queen's doing on a4. This move will come next, lining up with the queen. I'll have to do this, which I should have did earlier, and then black can answer that with castles. Not to mention, they'll probably grab my e-pawn. So, yeah, I think that was... See, I told you I have allergies. I'm definitely sneezing. Okay, wow, sorry about that. So in the game, though, my opponent actually agreed with my threat. They said, hey, I see what you're going to do. You're going to play queen a4 check and win my bishop. So I'm just going to just develop. Yeah, and that's just a huge blunder. I mean, because, you know, let's take a free piece. So I did that. And takes. And then I played queen a4. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a nice, easy game because I'm winning, you know. Well, I was half right because I am winning, but it's not going to be an easy game. And you'll see as we continue here. So I thought my opponent might take on f3 here. And I thought if they do that, I was seriously considering taking the bishop on a5. But if I do that, then they take my e-pawn. So maybe like this. So I'm not sure about that variation. So likely I would have taken back here. And now their bishop's still attacked. The c-pawn's still attacked. And so they would go here. I could take here. And well, we would just play from here, I think. I think knight d7 I was expecting. But I kind of wish it did go this way. Even though my king's open a bit, and I have what I called a broken castle, the queen's not coming here. I've got that protected. And black does not have like a lot of firepower coming there quickly, so I feel like I'll be able to defend that. I always have king h1 and rook g1 and stuff like that. So anyway, after queen a4, they played bishop b6. I took a check. And yeah, here I had an oversight. And this is an error that chess players make. And unfortunately, I'm still making this error. I kept looking at the lines where the bishop takes the knight. Well, the bishop didn't take the knight. So black can play this move. Now that attacks the queen and takes away some squares too, so that's actually a pretty serious oversight on my part. And lucky for me, I'm not going to lose my queen. I have queen b7. I also have another resource that I considered. I have this, and then check. That also saves my queen, but I gave up my bishop, so I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather keep my bishop. So I just went here, and I thought, okay, I'm not getting trapped on rook b8. I can just go here. So that should be fine. And on a5, which I thought might be played, I thought I'll be okay. Why did I think that? I'm not exactly sure. Let's see. Well, I'll tell you what. I want to get to this square, but there's a knight protecting it. So I actually think bishop g5, pinning that knight, is a good idea. And I could definitely intend to just take that knight and then plant my queen back in the middle, where I'll be pressuring f7 amongst other things. Still have my eye on that rook as well. So, okay, but I realized that I wasn't going to lose my queen, but I also realized that now I'm going to move my queen around a lot, and my winning advantage is going to diminish a bit, despite being up a piece. Because black does have a pawn for that. And I don't think my queen's done moving around because she definitely doesn't belong there. Okay, so they castled. Yeah, it turns out they should have played a5. The engine agreed with me. I was worried about that move. Yeah, and bishop g5 is actually the only move there. If I don't make that move, black's better. Crazy, right? So that means my queen was getting trapped. So after castles, though, I could play bishop g5 now, but I played a safe move, and I was playing fairly quickly, unfortunately. But fortunately, because I won't get in time pressure that way, I just played queen a3. I'm like, yeah, I'm not messing around. I'm going to just get my queen to safety. I'm up a piece, and I'm going to, defend. That was my plan. If I defend successfully, then I will be up a piece and be winning. So that's actually how the game does go. I've got to just defend now. So they take my pawn. Now I'm only up one pawn. Bishop to d5. Ooh, yeah, and this is another bad move. So not one of my best games, I'll tell you that. Been playing too much blitz, playing a little too quickly. This looks like a nice move. It's like, hey, I'm forking you. But, had I looked for 2 seconds more, I think I would have seen that on this move, they can just play knight c5. That's going to attack my queen. I have no time to take the rook. I'm going to have to move my queen, and then their rook moves. So, not to mention, then c6 comes with tempo on my bishop. So, I do not like that move. But I did play it. Knight c5. And I play queen e2. Okay. So I'm getting coordinated now. c6. Bishop e3. Bishop g4. Pinning my knight. Now e5 is a pretty serious threat. I don't want to lose a piece. So I played h3 to see what they want to do. Do they want to maintain the pin or not? They did maintain the pin. And now here I had a pretty serious decision to make. The decision is, what do I do about e4? And do I want to play g4? It's not a move that you necessarily want to play. But if it's the only way to not lose a piece, then I think I should do that. So, It looks like the only way to me. Let's see. If knight bd2, I'm not too crazy about this because I'm blocking that bishop, which is going to be a problem. So, yeah, and then I calculated this actually, because if they go e4 now, and I take that and I go, haha, I take it, they'll say, oh yeah, well, rook e8, and they'll pin that. So, yeah, and that's probably losing. Now that's a threat too. That's a threat. Too many threats. We don't want to do that. Yeah, it is losing. So g4. Let's turn the engine off. So I realized that g4 is needed here, and my opponent retreated their bishop. And now I played bishop to g5, developing with tempo on the queen. There is no f6 because it's a mean computer. No, it's pinned. So that's illegal. So they moved their queen. And now I played rook d1. Now rook d1 I think is a good move. It looks weird, but I realized something. I realized that I want to go knight to d2, but I was worried about this. Like, that's protected by the knight, and that's a skewer. So I don't think I should allow that, so I played rook d1, protecting against that, and now they took the bishop. Probably not a good choice by my opponent. I was actually more worried about moves like d5. I don't know, more forcing moves. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah, the engine likes d5, and it likes rook a to e8, like this. Yeah, getting ready for like this stuff. Yeah, because if d5 immediately, maybe I could take, but I might get pinned. I'm on the queen, but maybe they just pin me. Yeah. So yeah, I think d5 is good. I cannot take that pawn. But they played that, which actually opened up my rook. So I'm like, okay, thank you. And after queen e6, I guess wanting to protect this. Now I finally developed my final piece. So I felt like, okay, you know, I'm almost out of the water here. h6, bishop e3. And, well, I mean, when you're defending and you're up material, trading is good. So I was like, hey, let's trade. And by the way, if you don't trade, I might take that pawn. So they didn't trade, and I did take the pawn. Okay. Okay, sorry, technical difficulty. All right, so now they played d5. And I was hoping they would play that move, actually, because I wanted to play bishop c5. Every time a pawn moves in chess, you should be very mindful of what it leaves behind. And I saw that d5 would give me a very nice home for this bishop. And after the rook moved, I then cemented my bishop with the move b4. So, okay, I'm coordinated here, or I'm not coordinated, but I'm developed. And I just need to get coordinated. I'm up a piece, and, well, black has initiative. Black has a strong center, the strong pawn duo in the center, and black has two bishops, and they're going to try to attack my king, which is weakened. Now, if I can defend, I'll just be up a piece, like I said before. But it's not necessarily going to be simple have to stay strong and calculate. So, okay. In the game, e4. Now that attacked my knight, which I saw, and I planned knight to d4. And I did see that this could happen. So black created a battery, and they're going to checkmate me on h2. But I did see that I have knight to f1 here, which I did play. So I'm guarding that, and I think that's just fine. But in terms of coordination, I feel like my pieces are a bit weird. My bishop has a nice square, but I actually wish my bishop was defending my king. And I wish my knight was too. So I actually want to do maybe something like, gosh, I don't know. Maybe something like queen e3, knight here, maybe knight h2, I don't know, stuff like that. Maybe get the bishop to d4. So I had ideas like that. I just want to get my position more coordinated. My opponent played queen g5. So probably my opponent's going to make threats, and we have to figure out how to defend. Queen g5 lines up with my king. So that means that pawn is pinned. So you immediately got to start looking at these squares. So I was worried about h5 here, and I think h5 pretty much is a threat. The other threat, I think, is queen h4, which would attack my h3 pawn. I can't go here with the king, and I'm really doubtful that I should go there either, because after this and check, I don't know. That seems bad. So let's not put the king there. So I went queen e3 because, hey, let's trade. So he said no, thank you. I actually was expecting queen h4, but queen e3 actually defends the pawn as well. So queen f6. Yeah, and now I really would like my bishop to come to f6. I think that would be a good way to go. So I played knight to e2 to clear, that square. And also maybe I'll put my knight on g3. Maybe even f4 at some point. h5. Bishop d4, attacking the queen. The queen went to h4. And now knight to f4. Yeah, so I do think this is a good move, but I had to calculate it because, well, you know, that's a lot of stuff around the king, right? So my calculation was knight to f4, and after takes, I would just take the bishop. Now, if they take here, I could take the queen. So they're going to have to move their queen. So after knight to f4 takes here, they basically have to take back. And then when I take back, they go check. But then I don't play queen g3 blocking. I play knight g3. Because then if the bishop takes, I can play queen takes. And I thought in that position, I'm totally fine. And the engine agrees. At least I think it does. Yeah, it likes knight f4. Okay, so knight to f4, takes, 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 takes. It's all happened. So my calculation paid off, except I didn't really calculate this move, bishop to f4. No, I did sort of in the middle though. But I thought here, you know, queen e2. Now, this looks scary too because the knight is pinned. So, oh no, I hung my queen. Right, Eric Rosen? But no, because now the knight's not pinned. We just take back. So I'm trying to trade pieces again, which is what you should do when you're up a piece. They went queen h4, and I went king to g2. Idea, play rook h1. And now things are starting to look pretty good for white. At least that's what I thought. He traded. Trade. Queen g5. And hey, let's trade some more. Bishop e3. He said, okay, that's fine, but you have to invite my rook in. And I said, that's okay, I'm good. And I played rook to a6. Okay, so, I mean, to play rook to a6, you basically just have to make sure that all these captures or any checks, that they're fine for us. And I thought, after bishop takes knight, I thought we take the queen, so that must be good. And I thought after bishop takes bishop, I can just take with the queen. I have no problem with this. They have to move their queen. Probably do something like that. Even this is sufficiently defended. So even that's defended. So yeah, I thought all of this was great. So I played rook to a6. And was I saying rook a3? Sorry. So they did take. I took queen e5. So, okay, queen e5. Why did they play that? I think the idea was to play rook f3. But I did see that, and I thought it was fine. I had no problem with rook f3. So I took a pawn. Why not? Rook f3 and queen d4. Okay. Yeah, actually, I have some other ideas here I could do even. I'm pretty sure I could play moves like check, followed by maybe something like queen e1 and stuff like that. But, okay, I should pay attention to this pawn too. But I simply went here because, well, number one, we know we want to trade. But number two, I want to put pressure here. Like, I think that's going to bode well for me. So they move the queen. I did attack it. My knight's pinned and attacked, but it's defended enough. So, yeah, they have to defend that. So, yeah, and here I just traded. And now I think I'm just totally winning. Finally, the attack is over completely, and I've got an extra knight. And I've got this wonderful b pawn. So I think playing, those moves and making a queen is a good plan. Also, I could leave the knight here. It's actually nice shelter for the king against these checks. So I'll just show the rest of the moves quickly. I played this because, well, it's fine to do. I get a check, and now my b pawn is just the only passed pawn on the board. Okay, I checked. Let's go here and protect the pawn. And, oops. And one nice tip about these types of endings is that it's very good to place your queen on the diagonal where it can be checked. And so my queen could be checked on this h1, or I'm sorry, a8 to h1 diagonal, or h1 to a8 diagonal. So I'm going to keep my queen on this diagonal if I can. I can always throw in checks. That's not a bad thing to do. It actually, with increment, you gain time every time you do that. So checks are usually going to be good. And I just want to help promote my pawn. So that's the plan. So that's what you're going to see here. So after queen to f6, I push my pawn because that square's free. The king moved up. Hey, let's trade, because then I'll have an unstoppable passed pawn. They said no, thank you. So I keep pushing. King h7. Keep pushing. And queen d8. Yeah, and here I was like, okay, what do I do? Now, you know, in hindsight, it's like, why didn't I just play that move? I like that move. Maybe I was worried about this check, though. I think I was. Yeah, I was worried about that check. And, ooh, wait a minute. I see something. I could probably go king h3, because that's covered by the knight. That's covered by the knight. That's a good knight. I like him. Yeah, so actually, I do think queen c8 is probably most precise. But I was really in no hurry. I mean, my advantage is, you know, really good. So I don't have to rush this at all. So he's keeping an eye on my pawn. Let's throw in a check. Try to force a weakness. And my opponent plays g5. That's a good opponent. I wanted him to do something like that. So, okay. I played knight e4. The queen comes in. Now, if I take on g5, he will take my knight with check and then win my passed pawn. So that's not a good idea. Yeah, I don't know. This might be a draw now. So I got to be careful. But I took with a knight because that's with check. Everything's protected. Notice I'm on that diagonal. Check. Check. Hit the queen. Check. Yeah, and I saw here that they're going to run out of checks. Yeah, and this might look like a blunder because, oh no, is my knight. But I actually saw that I can sacrifice the knight because I win a queen. So I just went here. Please take my knight. Oops. Because I'll just make a queen. So they didn't do that, I don't think. Did they? Oh, they did do it. Yeah, because I offered that earlier too. I forget where. Yeah, they could take the knight here too. I offered this here too. Okay, but I'm pretty sure I can move with two queens. And especially if I have a queen and my opponent doesn't. And my opponent finally did resign here. So, yeah, not the best game I've ever played. A pretty, I was gonna say wonderful, but what I really mean is blunderful game, especially in the opening. I was kind of out of it apparently. And it was only later that I played a bit more accurately. So, yeah, but I did play quickly though. So making mistakes in the opening and early in the game, instead of using all my time and then blundering later, losing the game, I think is still an improvement. So I'm going to chalk this up as a win for sure, because it was a win. And, well, crazily enough, I gained 10 rating points. So guess what? It is time to feed the baby birds. Yay. We made it. We got to 2,000. Yay, baby birds. Sorry, I still have no food. I was busy playing chess. They're like, what? What? You don't even have any food after all this time? I'm like, yeah, sorry about that. But yay, Phoenix. So yes, this completes this journey, Rise to 2000 on Lichess, which was sort of a side quest for any RPG players out there. Yeah, my real quest is I want to break 1900 and 2000 on chess.com. If I could do that, I'll be so happy. My chess.com rating typically correlates with my USCF rating. Currently, it's about 1800, I think, maybe slightly lower. And Well, my USCF rating is about 1650 at the moment, although I'm pretty confident that will bounce back without too much trouble. But yeah, so that will be the next journey. And well, I'm more into chess than ever. So please know that, especially over the summer, I'll be training hard and working hard to actually become a USCF expert, followed by a national master. And who knows after that? A FIDE master would be amazing. And if I ever become an international master, I will just be so excited. Although it feels very difficult and I realize it's very unlikely, I think it's a nice stretch goal to have. And who knows, maybe I will do it. But one last thing before I go, I do want to shout out to a good friend of mine, Amog Tripathi. I think he's 13 years old now, maybe 12 still, but I think 13. And he just became a national master. He gained like so many rating points over the last 3-4 years, like going from like 1200 to like 2200. So huge congrats to Amog. I mean, he's a huge inspiration to me at this point, like huge inspiration. And I'm just going to be cheering him on his journey, hoping that maybe I can pick up some tips from him. And I hope to feature him on this channel as well. So hopefully we'll have him as a guest at some point, and we'll analyze and talk about a little bit too, like, how did you do it, you know? How did you gain so many rating points so fast? And so that will be in the future. So this is Stacia. Thank you so much for following this series, and I'll be back with more chess. So have a great night.